If I was to describe the Red, White, and Royal Blue movie using one word, it would be meh. Hi, my name is Abby. I am Abby Not Abby on TikTok. Typically make TikTok videos, but I might start making more long form videos now that the strike is over. I'm filming this. This is my third time filming it. I filmed it, but right now it is October 10th. So it has been 2 months. In fact, I think it is the 2 month of the movie coming out. And I have a lot of thoughts. I have been following the Red, White, and Royal Blue movie, obviously, since the casting. I was very excited about the casting. I just want to make this clear from the get-go. I have none of these issues are with the actors. I think they both did a phenomenal job with the script and budget they were given. I have a lot of issues with the script. I do feel mean for this video, but there are a lot of, I think, genuine criticisms of Red, White, and Royal Blue that I think a lot of people aren't aware of and or possibly haven't talked about because they're following the strike rules, because I think the Venn diagram of people who are following strike rules and those who didn't like the Red, White, and Royal Blue movie is like a circle. But you get what I mean. Anyway, so I've been following the Red, White, and Royal Blue movie since about casting. I started to raise the red flags whenever we realized that A, June isn't in the movie. I was like, where is June? I love June. June is, I think, one of the key integral parts of the story, and then the other key integral part of the story is Rafael Luna. So when that interview came out with the actor who did not end up playing Miguel, but was playing Miguel, I don't know what happened there, team. When that interview came out and he announced that he was playing Miguel, who was a character that was a combination of Rafael Luna and Liam, and that Alex had already had a relationship with him, I got very scared. I was like, oh, we have lost the plot. We've lost the plot a little bit there, team. And I think that's what indeed happened. I think a large chunk of my criticisms fall into two categories. One, the loss of plot, and then two, the loss of characters. So starting off with the loss of characters, June being gone, I think, is a critical part to Alex's story. I think June not being there really makes Alex seem a lot, he needs that sort of nurturing presence, and I really didn't enjoy the family dynamic. I really enjoyed that in the book, they're not a perfect nuclear family. They're a mixed family, they're a divorced family. So them being this perfect nuclear family felt very weird. Like there were scenes, anytime Ellen and Oscar interacted, I was like, I don't like this at all. Scene of Oscar and Alex on the porch of the White House, which I thought was a really great scene, and I don't know why we could have had that scene and still had them been divorced, because especially there's that line Oscar has where he's like, your mother is the epitome of power. Yeah, I think that could have been a really interesting point to expand upon what is in the book, which is Ellen's star rose faster than Oscar. Oscar got resentful, like a man, and they divorced. That's, I think, a good point. And it wasn't there. And it really, them being married didn't add anything to the story. And I think being divorced, being the child of divorced parents is such a key part of Alex's sort of mindset, is that he's had this abandonment issue, which Alex has an abandonment issue. So not having divorced parents felt very weird. Obviously I need June. June is phenomenal. Then we go to Nora. I love Nora. Nora is one of my top 10 favorite characters of our time. She really was only there to uplift the boys, which, not super great from a feminist point of view. Really thought we'd do better than that. If you were to take Nora out of the movie, I don't know if the movie would change that much, and that's because they chose to focus this movie on solely the boys, which is a choice. But I don't know, but it wasn't the right choice. Nora really, Nora shines in the books, right? It's such an interesting world between her and Alex, and that they're, exes, and then she's sort of dating his sister, and they're best friends, and she's super smart and puts him in his place. He needed that, and she didn't really do it. I was sort of okay, Nora doesn't, even Nora Pez had no development. I'll get into Pez in a little bit, but Nora Pez had no development. I was like we've got one interaction and then flowers. Give me the karaoke scene, which I'll talk about the karaoke scene later. I did actually enjoy that. The absence of June impacted Nora, and then the plot sort of fell apart. I'll get into the plot later. Moving on to Henry's side of the cast. Starting off with B. I really hated B in this movie, and I love B. I love Fanon Arrow-Ace B. Love her character. She just really, and I think it was because they made her younger, so she couldn't be in an advisory role to Henry. Now, I completely understand why they made her younger. It's so that Henry is the spare and not just the very dramatic third like he is in the book. Or like, you know, a world in which they didn't pass the female line. I don't know a lot of British politics, but whatever that rule is, that like females can now be in line. B, every time she was in the scene, I was just like, you are giving us nothing. Like, anytime she tried to comfort Henry, I was just like, it's just not really what I needed from her. And I love B, but this B, nothing against the actress, she did a phenomenal job. The character I had an issue with. And then that leads me directly into Pez. Pez has one line in this entire movie. The scene in which he talks to Nora during the party and is like, let me get you a drink. That is the only line Pez has. Now he has like background lines, like everybody cheers sort of situations, but he does not have any lines. He doesn't have any plot. What I think they should have done is cut one of them, B or Pez, and I think it's more important to cut B than it is to cut Pez, because one of the points Alex has in the books is he's like, how can such a boring man have such a cool best friend, right? Pez is cool. And Pez, yeah, he dressed super cool, but he was just sort of always there. And you're like, okay, like, can we like, I think I would have seen a lot more, I wanted to see a lot more of that friendship. We didn't get. No friendship there. Pez is phenomenal. I think we should have cut B if we were going to cut the sisters, because that's also something the boys both bond about, is Henry and Alex both have older sisters who are very well intentioned, who very much guide them because they have such busy and absent parents. Catherine, I don't even know what happened there. Why was she in Botswana? I will come back to this at the very end of the video because there's more on that. But Catherine being in Botswana was really interesting because, again, a lot of the times they could have made a point and it would have only have taken a line. It would only have taken a line of like, my mother is very depressed after the passing of my father. I essentially lost two parents in the death of Arthur. That's it. We didn't need her. I did like the change, maybe, I do think maybe the change in the power of Catherine taking charge in the book during this, not the storming of Kensington, but the confrontation with the Queen. I like that we shifted the power to Henry. That was an okay change. Catherine isn't needed in the movie, but still. Catherine just being like off in Botswana, I was like, that is an interesting write-off. The king was sanitized. They 100% sanitized the king. It's also really funny to me, I made a video right when the Queen died. It's really funny to me that they maybe changed the Queen into being a king to avoid comparisons to the British monarchy just for Queen Elizabeth to die. That was pretty funny. I felt like the king was sanitized. Obviously Stephen Fry is amazing. Homosexual is just constantly in my brain. But I was like, I feel like the villain here is Philip, because Philip, yeah, obviously he's compared to William, but like, Philip, it's less of a direct comparison, and so I feel like we sanitized it in the name of the British crown. Philip was fun. I liked Philip. I would have liked more Martha. I thought Martha was really interesting. Sean. So now we're moving into like supplementary characters. Sean, Zara, and Amy. Zara, no critiques. Oh my god, she made the movie. I love Zara. My favorite scenes were the closet scene and then the scene of her and Alex in the White House when she calls Sean. Iconic. I did not think we were going to get Zara Sean. I have a video. I didn't end up posting it because it was strike time. But I have a video and I was like, there's no way Zara Sean makes this movie. And it did. Not very well. I wish we had gotten like, you know, some sort of like in-person interaction like at election night. But still, Zara Sean, amazing. Sean and Amy both suffered from the same issues in that we had a lot of development with them in the first 30 minutes and then we dropped them. They were there, they were great, and then they just sort of disappeared. Amy especially, the first 30 minutes I was like, I love this friendship between her and Alex. And then we got into the relationship and she was entirely dropped. I would have loved a scene after the Red Room, right? She very clearly walks in on them and knows what they're doing. A scene between her and him after the Red Room being like, she's like, what are you doing? What was that? Like, I'll protect you, but bro, come on. Amy's phenomenal. Sean, he was fine. He was pretty much unremarkable. And now moving into plot, which was, we'll segue our way in with Miguel. I liked the character of Miguel. The issues with Miguel, I would have preferred Rafael Luna. Obviously, I'll talk about that more later. Miguel's character I thought was interesting. I think Miguel is just going to sort of be the scapegoat for a lot of the issues I have with this movie. And that choosing Miguel over Rafael Luna really was the downfall of the plot. I thought the character was very interesting. I liked the character. I wish we had gotten more of like Alex's mindset, which leads me into my first point about the plot. In the book, Alex is straight. Alex on page 110, so we are this far through the book, you know, a solid quarter, says he's pretty sure he's straight. I would not have gotten that from that movie. You could not convince me that movie, he did not know he was bi. Especially, there were a lot of good chances for him to say, yo, I'm straight. The scene with Nora, that would have been an easy bit for him to say, but I'm straight, and Nora's like, okay, let's look at the facts. 97% chance of latent bisexuality. The scene with Miguel, the coffee shop scene with Miguel, I think that would have been a really funny plot. I firmly believe that Alex Claremont Diaz, when he was hooking up with Liam, said no homo. Vicky boy said no homo, 100%. He 100% could have said something like that in the scene when Miguel is flirting with him and been like, hey, like, I was drunk that one time, I'm straight. The bi crisis was not there. The bi representation was fine, but the bi crisis was not there. You would not know that this man thought he was straight for a quarter of the book. Up until the New Year's Eve kiss, I thought the pacing, I was having a decent time. I had my complaints, but up until the New Year's Eve kiss, I thought it was good. I was like, I love this Kate. The montage, the texting montage is phenomenal. I was in love. I was like, oh, this is so much fun. Loved the texting montages. I think Thanksgiving was okay. Oh, jumping back a little bit. Cornetto scene. I remember watching it and they went straight from the picture op scene to the interview scene and I was like, where was Cornetto's? I have a point about Cornetto's I'll come back to at the very end. Where is the Cornetto scene? I was like, was it not in the trailer? It was, and it threw me for such a loop. I think it should be illegal to not put scenes. If you have a scene in the trailer, you do have to include it in the movie, because that threw me for a loop. The Cornetto scene, not. The Cornetto scene, I was like, where did it go? Matthew Michael Lopez had an interview in which he talked about why they cut the Cornetto scene, and it was because it set off the tone of the interview scene. I think we should have prioritized the Cornetto scene over the interview scene. The interview scene, in my opinion, was too long. There were too many jokes. I think we could have made it a 30-second scene and then taken that and instead had... I see entirely. I completely understand his point that it set off the tone for the interview scene. I just feel like the Cornetto scene is more important than the interview scene. So we should have prioritized and maybe reworked that. I would have liked Christmas. That hammers back to the family point. I really enjoyed Christmas because it's sort of the first time they get like deep about their family issues. I would have enjoyed Christmas, but again, that's more the marriage point coming back and hurting the Christmas scene later. New Year's was fine. New Year's kiss was fine. I think I'm okay with the pacing up through Red Room. And then where I start to have my issues with pacing is after the Red Room. That scene after the Red Room is very cute, and then we go straight from that scene into Polo. That, I think one of my biggest complaints with this movie is you don't know very much about the emails. And the emails is the plot, right? Like, the emails are the plot. I watched this with my roommate, who has never read the book, had very little idea about the movie. I tried to, like, not sway them while watching the movie. We watched the movie together, and I asked for their opinion after it, and they were like, what was the letter thing? And I was like, oh, they're writing emails to each other. And they were like, I didn't even know they were emails. And I was like, oh. So they didn't understand the significance at all of their emails being leaked. They have that one really good Texas montage, right, of Alex in Texas. We needed that at least 3 times. I think we should have had it between the Red Room and Polo, and I think we should have had it between Polo and Paris, and then between Paris, Texas, and then maybe one more between storming of Kensington and the email leak. But like those three definitely. The emails were not there. It needed to be more emails because you lose the pining aspect. I wouldn't believe you if you told me this was a long distance relationship because the pining wasn't there. And these boys are just really pining for each other the entire book. And I think because it seems to be implied that Polo and Paris are the same day, which, one, you little gas-guzzling airplane users. But two, I was like, I just don't really understand why we combined them. Paris I thought was good. I really think all the characterization choices there were a lot of fun. Like, that was a fun scene. I had a good time with that. I thought it was beautifully acted. The Texas montage was phenomenal. I loved that montage. I was like, I could do an entire movie of just Alex in the montage. I do question why we lost Minnesota. Like, it's very much described as being like grassroots and like he doesn't have a lot of money. So I'm a little bit like, where did our Minnesota money go? Because Minnesota going red is still hilarious to me. Why? What did you do, Ellen? What did you do to Minnesota? But I love the Texas montage. One of my genuine highlights that I think they did a really good job on was the combination of LA and Texas. I thought the karaoke scene is really the only important part of LA besides, you know, the throuple, but we obviously weren't going to get the throuple. Love the scene of Alex and Nora on his bed in which Nora's like, you should go. And then we get to the storming of Kensington. He didn't storm the castle. He just sort of walked in. Right? We don't see him storm the castle. We don't see obtuse fucking asshole. We don't see him standing in the rain, yelling at Sean, and a very tired Henry behind. He didn't storm the castle. He walked in, and like the weird shot like that was weird. The writing for Henry was phenomenal in the storming of Kensington. Alex stormed Kensington and then just seemed to sort of stand there. I was very much just like, okay, like this is not as dramatic. And I know Matthew Michael Lopez had an interview in which he talked about how like he had talked to Casey and they had just sort of agreed that maybe Henry wouldn't have reacted the way he did in the book, and that wasn't super great characterization of Casey, and that Henry would have ran away if Alex came at him screaming, which is a valid character analysis. I don't agree with it. Henry's bit was good. I do have some gripes. I feel like the book doesn't make this as much of a conflict as the movie does, but the movie makes a really big conflict out of Henry not wanting to be in the public eye. Alex wants to be in the public eye. We don't have this arc that we have in the book of Alex going, oh wait, maybe I don't want to be a politician, maybe I just want to go to law school, and that's because they aged him up. So he's already in law school. But, like, because we don't see Alex undergo that arc, which answers the Henry doesn't want to be in the public eye question, it gets a little bit wishy-washy. That conflict just sort of was never resolved, and it sort of bothered me. One of my big issues with Storming of Kensington was the ending, right? In the book, they do that whole interaction that mostly made it into the movie. They do that whole interaction, they do the don't leave me, look me in the eyes scene, and then they sleep together. Very cute. And then the next morning, Henry gets up and goes for a run. One of my complaints of the Red, White, and Royal Blue book is I wish we had seen that scene, because it felt very, we don't know if we're breaking up, to Henry coming back in the room and being like, we're together. I didn't love that in the book. So that's a very, I have that complaint with the book. With the movie, because we go straight from that to the VA, we're missing that sort of like resolution, and so we go to the VA and we resolve it, but I didn't think we really resolved it. Also, shout out to the tweet that mentioned that the palace and the VA are 30 minutes apart, like by foot. So what were they like talking about that entire time? That was interesting. VA scene, very cute. Wish we had had it the next night, when we'd like resolved and were like very confident in our relationship at that point. I loved the switching of key and ring, right? In the book, Alex gets the key and the ring. In the movie, Henry gets the key, Alex gets the ring. I loved that. I was like, oh my god, that is the most precious thing. I enjoy that, especially with the symbolism of like Henry early on when they hooked up for the first time was like, I've never had a key before. So I really enjoy that. I think we should have had an email montage between Airplane and leaking of emails. Because at this point, we haven't talked about the emails. We've talked about the emails once. And we haven't talked about them again in like 30 minutes. Email leak. I liked that it was from Henry's point of view. I thought that was good. My issues with that scene mostly are B. We've already talked about B. Where the email leak gets confusing with me is, why did Alex speak first? Phenomenal speech. I loved his speech. I thought that was such a good speech. I wish there were a few lines that I was just like, why didn't we have those? I'm bisexual and I'm the first son of the United States, and like, America, he is my choice. Those lines, I was like, why couldn't we have had those also in this scene? It felt out of place though. He gave this whole beautiful speech about how he's choosing Henry and this is a violation of privacy and the importance of the closet. And then he flies to London. Then we go talk to the king. And the king's like, we're just gonna pass it off as like a foreign involvement. One of the people has already gone out on stage and confirmed that this relationship is real. This isn't gonna work. This is a horrible plan, buddy. It wouldn't have changed the plot at all for the Buckingham Palace scene to happen, and then we go back to America and Alex gives his speech like what happens in the book. It just felt very wrong. I was like, this is just not realistic at all. Like, obviously there are parts of this movie that aren't realistic at all, and we're ignoring those. But like, this doesn't make any logical sense. I wish we had gotten a balcony kiss. That's one of my pet peeves. I was like, we went out onto the balcony and then we saw nothing. Also, like, are you gonna tell me they didn't know Alex was there? They 100% knew Alex was in the country, so why would they be able to issue a denial? And then we go from the email leak to election night. Thought it was very fun, very cute. Loved Casey's cameo. One of the things that rubbed me wrong with that movie was, I really like Henry being on stage. I was just like, what are you doing? This is his partner of 2 months? Like, let's presume that like 2 or 3 months. They've been hooking up illicitly for 9 months. Like, this is not, what are we doing? Especially, I love it because there's 5,000 fan fictions out there that deal with the fact that Henry and Alex are more popular than their parents. Does Henry go to the inauguration? Does Alex go to Henry's things? Like, these are all very valid issues that fan fictions talk about. So the movie just going, nah, put Henry up on stage was really funny to me. Election night was, besides that, I thought it was cute. I really liked the scene of the boys in the hallway. The biking scene was very cute. And that's the movie. I keep mentioning that I'll like talk about things at the very end, and the reason why I'll talk about things at the very end is that I have information that, to the best of my knowledge, not many other people know. I was very vocal about my disapproval of this movie and several of the choices that were made in the lead up. And so as a result, in June, I received my first script. At the end of the day, I received 5 scripts. All 5 of them were identical. Thank you so much to the 5 people who sent them to me. I will not be showing the entirety of the script because I don't believe that that was the intended final draft, right? And it's not what we got. But there are several key changes that I want to talk about. And one of the reasons why I started going so hard on this movie after I got those scripts was because there were things in there that I was genuinely scarred by. There was infidelity, there were character assassinations, there was a sex scene between 2 people who were not Henry and Alex. It was some team. But there were some changes that I thought were really interesting. One, Alex wears glasses in the cornetto scene, which I know has been a common complaint of the cornetto scene. Alex says, with glasses, in the cornetto scene. Catherine, the scene in which they confront the king is identical to the book. Catherine is there. I don't know where Catherine went. Catherine was in the script, the initial draft of the script. It was a queen at that point, so I know it's a very old script, probably first early drafts. But Catherine was there. Catherine was, very present. It was somehow worse and better in that a lot of the scenes were closer to the book, but there was a lot of things added that were really wrong. Really, really, really wrong. I was genuinely fearful for the ending because they changed the ending to the book in a pretty significant way. The first time I watched the Red, White, and Royal Blue movie, I was like, oh God, please, for the love of God, do not. Do not. Do not. And they didn't. So I was very pleased. I'll let you all decide what it is. It was horrific. I'll probably be making follow-up questions, like follow-up videos on TikTok. I'm gonna also be posting like clips of this on TikTok. But like this whole last bit about the script, that is just for y'all. I'm not putting that on TikTok because hopefully, I don't know if this video will do well. But if you have any like things you want me to talk about in greater depth, leave it on TikTok. That'll increase the odds of me getting into it. I'll probably take screenshots and throw it over on TikTok. But yeah. Anyway, I'll leave you all with my favorite screenshot from the Red, White, and Royal Blue movie script. Bye.